I have been working on it for about 3-4 weeks now. It hasn't gotten better, and I've decided, all right, let's go fix it. And so Greg was nice enough to move some stuff around his schedule. I'm going up to see him right now, and we're gonna go fix this wrist.
Alexa, turn the music off.
It's serious now.
Previously, we showed kind of the strength that he has through his whole body, and it literally all comes down to his ability to tolerate forces. And we talked about the idea that he went from literally 117 club head speed when we first started.
Now I'm close to 140.
He's pushing 140. So there's a lot of torque being produced, and he's generating these torque from the core. I mean, initiating forces. He's got to have stability and strength from the ground up. We've had to work through his feet. Now he's out doing high intensity work. I mean, club head speed, ball speed as high as it can be, doing exercises to try and increase that speed, and next thing you know, now he comes back from a tournament, his wrist is killing him. And so now you got the next weak link, is you got the muscles that support the wrist and the forearm. Those muscles are basically showing that I've been overloaded, and again, they shout out with tightness first, and then they shout out in pain, saying, really, quit doing this until you fix the problem. So that's why he's here today. We're gonna fix the problem so that he can go back out, generate those forces, and his wrist and hand muscles can tolerate those forces. So I come back and I check his wrist flexors. Here's the flexor carpi radialis, and it's painful. Yeah. Pain is, I always say pain's the check engine light. Pain's an indicator something's wrong. I'm putting force on this tissue, taking him full range of wrist flexion, testing his muscles, he's weak bilaterally, and we come back and it's like, not only is it weak, I put a force on it, and he doesn't like it. Yeah, he shouts out in pain saying, quit doing this until you fix the problem. Quit putting forces on this tissue, because I did a very specific motion of wrist flexion. He's very restricted in his range of motion in wrist flexion. And so tightness is the first sign of muscle dysfunction, and pain is the second when you put forces on those tissues that are vulnerable. So literally, this is palmaris longus. It creates tension through the palm. He said he's having pain when he compresses. And I would say forming a taco between his thumb and his fingers. He has pain there. This palmaris longus, I put him in that position. And look at his face.
I'm not even gonna try, it hurts.
And so it's shouting out in pain saying, don't do this until you fix the problem. So our goal now is to fix the problem.
Yep.
Until he proves to me that he can tolerate the forces that we're placing against those tissues, we keep going back and shutting him down and reactivating these tissues.
I gotta get stronger forearms. I have a pretty dang big core now from all the trunk stuff we've done, shoulders, whatnot, leg stuff, but the wrists are super important, and I think it's time now to start kind of grinding on that. Given the fact I can tolerate it now, we're setting me up.
He said you're only as strong as your weakest link. He's trained his body, movement by movement, muscle by muscle, through his core, through his hips, through his feet, through his shoulders. And we haven't put a focus on the wrist and hands. And it's like, well, it made sense that eventually he's going to catch up with him, because he's creating so much torque when he swings a golf club. It comes with the territory. I always say life's going to beat us up. From a neuromuscular standpoint, somebody's got to be there to put you back together. And life just beat him up relative to wrist and forearm motion. One of the things we discussed kind of totally through the body is the integrated system is only as good as the function of its isolated parts. And movement by movement, muscle by muscle, we're trying to increase the function of every isolated part so the integrated system can move more efficiently. And so we've gone through with Bryson, we did the wrist extension, we saw weaknesses, treated that, got him able to tolerate greater amounts of force so the exercise no longer shut it down. Then we did wrist flexion, same idea, got the muscles were weak and couldn't tolerate load, got the muscles activated, then they could tolerate the load that we were doing in wrist flexion exercise. In the process, we went back and we tested him with this, palmaris longus, and he came back and he made the same grimace that he had at the beginning, and it was like painful. Well, that was palmaris longus, but there's a lot of finger, thumb muscles that are involved in that, just the gripping of the fingers. And wrist flexion didn't resolve that painful issue that he was having with the palmaris longus test. Then we had to move into the fingers. Well, how do you do exercise? We can't load the fingers for exercise. So we've done some manual resistance. And right now we've only done manual resistance on thumb extension and thumb flexion. Well, those muscles, they all attach into the palmar aspect of the hand. And we can say for the first time after addressing thumb flexion and thumb extension, we go back to this palmaris longus test, and you don't see him jumping off the table and swearing like he did the first time that we did it. And so it's getting better. Movement by movement, muscle by muscle, we're improving stability throughout the wrist and forearm in order to tolerate greater amounts of force in this integrated motion of wrist and forearm. As we work through it, he has less pain. And we'll show you how he feels at the end of this. But this muscle here,
oh my God.
Brings out that pain.
Jumping.
Here, let me show that again.
Stop.
Brings out pain.
Yeah, so it's funny when I go back is when I used to feel it really, really bad.
Yeah, and when you go back, you probably have more of that gripping motion,
Yeah, it's pulling.
trying to keep the stability with the club.
Yeah. That doesn't hurt going through impact anymore. Good start.
Mission accomplished.
Yes, sir.
At least it's a start.
We missed. We leave it.
We're gonna replay that in slow mo.
We're
By
gonna
the
replay
way.
that in slow mo. Well, my hand is like barely like I don't even know where it's going right now. There's so much to it. Yeah, it's better. If I want to, I can just isometric hold.
Now that we've raised the tolerance levels, now it's like jump starting the battery. Everything he does reinforces the strength and makes it even stronger. I mean, we don't expect 100%, but the fact that he came in and you saw him jump off the table, and now to be able to hit a ball with hit a club
I
without.
don't feel it. I don't feel the jar through impact. This is right after. It's like a light switch just going on and off. All right, one more. Let's deal with this. All right.
Good job.
It's better. You do.